throughout this series, looking at the story of the greatest victory, looking at the Easter story and the message of what Jesus accomplished. During this week, we'll be looking at the events that happened on those days. Now, yesterday was Palm Sunday, and we thought about Jesus making his entry into Jerusalem. How they celebrated. We referred to it as the entry of the champion. The champion has entered and people are excited. They believe this is the one they've been waiting for, the ruler they've been waiting for, the one who's going to bring them salvation, who's going to save them all. Well, of course, Jesus would save them. He would bring salvation, but not in the way they were expecting. Things take a very different turn over the coming days. Now, having reached Jerusalem, Jesus enters the temple courts and doesn't like what he sees. He sees the way that things are being used, the way that his Father's house is being used and is being treated. His response is interesting, because Jesus does show emotions of anger, how he's not pleased with what's going on. He's not pleased with the way his Father's house is being used. And this is bound to upset some people as well. What happened when Jesus entered the temple courts?
Have you ever been angry?
Even Jesus got angry.
On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple courts and began driving out those who were buying and selling there.
He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves,
and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts.
And as he taught them, he said, "Is it not written,
My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations"?
But you have made it a den of robbers.
The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this, and they began looking for a way to kill him. For they feared him, because the whole crowd was amazed at his teaching.
It's fair to say many people wouldn't have been very happy seeing the temple, their tables overturned, tables being upturned, what they've been planning to do, all their business, being disrupted, because Jesus wasn't happy at the way his Father's house was being used. What we see now is the tide starting to turn. The day before, Jesus had entered Jerusalem. It was the entry of the champion. But now the situation begins to turn. And what we'll see over this coming week is the situation turns dramatically over the next few days. When Jesus came into this world, so much of his teaching turned people's lives upside down. It turned upside down the teachings that they'd known before. Jesus came to bring about salvation in a very different way. He turned the world upside down, and many didn't like it. And what we'll see over the coming days is what they do about it. We see how they begin to have discussions about how they can get rid of him. Throughout the Gospels, they've looked at ways to try and get rid of him. And now they're trying even harder. How can they possibly get rid of this man, Jesus? This man who's upset the establishment. Tables have been upturned. What's going to happen next?